It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting. If you email me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. You can find the archives are at Spreaker.com. I do a live show there Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. As a matter of fact, if you go there, you'll find a couple of previous shows I've done with our guest today, Ernest Del Casal, who is a father's rights activist from Las Vegas, Nevada. This guy was a huge help to me in Victoria during our litigation and our divorce and custody and stuff. And he's running a thing now called Family Court Helpline Las Vegas. And the number is 702-609-3688. Mr. Ernest Del Casal, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you, Ed?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me on the show again. This is great.
No, thank you, brother. And so remind the audience, so who is Ernest Del Casal?
Well, for the sake of this show, let's go back a little backstory. 1980s, early 80, 81. I'm finding out that dads are getting a raw deal when it comes to court. They're not seeing their kids. They have limited access. There's all these obstacles in their way. So I decided to start an organization that's dedicated solely for fathers, married or not. And our intent, our mission statement then was, of course, to ensure that fathers establish and continue an ongoing relationship with their kids after the parents have dissolved their relationship, and make easier access to the court. So I used to hold weekly educational meetings so guys could, learn about their rights. They could ask questions and answers, and I would bring in a panel of attorneys and different workers in the system and what have you as guest speakers. But every week, the educational meetings, I was always accompanied by a bunch of attorneys, so we could do an open question and answer series afterwards. And then, of course, people would set appointments, and I would get them to the what they needed, whether they needed self-help forms, whether they needed paralegal services, whether they needed the free attorney consultations that I provided. So, we had something for everybody. Then I also saw there were shortcomings in the system. I mean, guys were being allegations against them that were, serious allegations that maybe were never proven or were false. But guys were being denied access to their children while their case worked 6 months to a year through the court system. So Judge Marin, Terrence Marin, and myself started the very first supervised visitation program, where you could still have contact with your child, but you were under a supervised area, and whether it be for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on the case and the age of the children. The other problem I saw was that guys were having a difficult time accessing the courts. We did not have self-help forms and self-help centers and that back in the 80s. If you did not have an attorney and you didn't know how to do drafting or prepare documents, there was absolutely no way for you to access the courts. So therefore, what I did was started the very first, and I did that in 1990, I believe, was the very first self-help form where you basically just filled in the blanks. Insert name here, insert the, and basically what it is that you wanted. So, those are just, and of course I was very, very involved in the state legislature. I was up there every 2 years with our state legislature, testifying before the Assembly, testifying before the Senate on bills, whether anything to do with domestic relations, family law, etc. We had great successes over the years. I established and changed quite a few laws here. We now have, and this is when I retired in 2015, finally, Nevada becomes a presumption of shared custody state. So now fathers had a real, could actually access the courts on equal footing, which was unheard of 20 years ago, 15 years ago. So, I made a lot of accomplishments, but I was well into my 60s by that time. So I said, it's time to hand over the reins. I've accomplished what I wanted. We have shared custody here. That's what I wanted, equal access for dads to their kids, to the court system. And I accomplished that. So I was approached by 3 different attorneys.
Ernest, before we get into that, I got to say one thing. Ernest Del Casal, there should be a statue erected of this man out in front of family court in Nevada, okay? And I'm not kidding, bro. And also, too, he's been a watchdog on these judges, too, as well, calling out these judges.
I was very, very involved with getting bad judges off the bench, like Gail Nathan, for instance, and Bob Luke, and and also you have to be good at getting good people on the bench. You have to vet these people before they ever get on the bench, and you've got to look at their backgrounds and what they're about. Like right now, before it was easy. First we had 3 judges, then 5, then 10, and it was easy to keep track of them. Now we have 21 judges in the family court. And there's no consistency. You can go to one court with the same facts and get a different decision than you would another court. So, it's still quite a mess down there, but we don't really have any system, now for keeping track of these judges other than individuals filing judicial complaints.
You're right. So Ernest is an insider. Family Court Helpline, Las Vegas, 702-609-3688. And that should be your first step if you find yourself mixed up in family court. Just give Ernest a call, man, okay? And he likes to talk. Okay, he'll talk to you, and he'll help you out, man, okay?
Get some good, serious, advice. Not somebody that's going to tell you what you want just because you're going to pay them a bunch of money. Because it doesn't cost money to come see me. So I really don't have a financial interest in telling you things that aren't true,
So, Ernest, you contacted me because you got a free speech issue here that you've been dealing with the past couple of years, right? Quite some time.
I've always been an advocate of free speech. I mean, whether it's offensive or not, if it's the truth, then so be it. And the right to publish said. So I find myself caught up in a case 2 years after I retire. I end up getting a lawsuit because 2 of my old members that were unhappy with the new owner, Kirk K. Harris, who's an attorney, and his stepson, Cam Anthony Harris, who is, I guess, the new office manager there. That's what he calls himself. But people were really upset, they had jacked up the prices 3 times, and they weren't giving the assistance. They were no longer a father's rights support group. They were there all about the money. And, of course, my old members and stuff weren't used to that, so they started posting negative reviews on the Internet, and one of them went as far as doing a website. And the next thing I know, I end up getting sucked into this case. So I get sued, and even the person that put up the website now told them, look, Ernest had nothing to do with it. He's not the client. This is the client, etc. So this guy decided he wants to go on and sue me anyway. So I said, well, I figured there's no problem with this. I'm telling the truth. Everything that was in the website was true. Anything that was ever posted was true. Reviews that I ever posted on my pages were all true, or they were the opinion of the author.
Well, and Ernest, too, now, this isn't the only attorney or the only office you've ever had a problem with. You've called out many.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding? I have a website called Lousy Las Vegas Lawyers, where every month I go through the Nevada Lawyer magazine. You can see all the lawyers every month that are disbarred, disciplined, sanctioned. I mean, it's just, we have never really had a court system here in Nevada that's been without controversy. I mean, look at some of our judges. We have judges that are thrown off the bench left and right here, family court and civil court, downtown criminal court. So Nevada's not ever had a good
when I came to Nevada from New York City, and the legal profession in New York, man, as much as you want to complain about, tough lawyers, but at least there was professionalism. Man, I was accustomed to professionalism, and then I walked down in Las Vegas, and these guys are running their whole law office off their cell phones. They don't even have offices. Half these guys, they're losing files the day before trial. Oh, I want more money, otherwise I'm not showing up tomorrow. Okay, stuff you never see.
It's horrible here. This is why when I was running my old office, I always had, attorneys that I could keep an eye on what they were doing. Right. In other words, my clients all reported back to me what was going on, so I could keep track of everybody, and we didn't run into those type of problems. My office ran like a well-oiled machine. I mean, I was in there. 40 people a day would come through my office.
It's so true. Very, very busy, very efficient, and Ernest too, man. Like when I first walked in there, I was kicked out of my house. I was broke, and it took care of me, man. Waived fees for me. I got to tell you, this is a man with a heart. Okay.
I never turned anybody away that was in real desperate need. No, absolutely not. I mean, that was the whole basis of the organization. But unfortunately, that's not the case today. Today, you go in there, you don't see a lawyer. You walk in, you see Cam Harris and some burned out old document preparer there that's, and no attorney. There's no attorney there. You walk in and they just tell you, oh, yeah, and they give us some money, we'll prepare papers. Well, what about an attorney? Well, the attorney will see you after the papers are done. So anyway, these clients that got upset with the way things went, and they posted this, and this guy ends up suing me. So I thought it'd be a walk in the park, everything's true. There's, we have free speech in this country, et cetera. Well, let me tell you, this attorney, Kurt K. Harris, pulled every sneaky little thing you could, but even the jury saw through it. And basically, instead of defamation, which they did give him $1,000 for defamation. And that's something, your reputation's only worth $1,000. So the jury didn't think much of him, obviously. And then his son or stepson got on the bench and on the stand and says, hey, I lost $8,000 worth of business because I had to spend so many hours going over the internet, because they blame me for every review that they got. If the guy's name was JC, it was me. If it was EC, it was me. If it was ED, it was me. They claimed that every review on the internet, and it's really easy to find out, as you know. All they have to do is go to my IP number and see where these came from. None of that came from my internet or any of my devices. So the case goes through, and then finally he comes in and tries to get $188,000 worth of attorney fees. And, of course, in the state of Nevada, if you're representing yourself as an attorney, you can't get attorney fees. So that got kicked out, 300 filings. But rather than take what I thought was a wrongful judgment, I filed an appeal with the Supreme Court. So that's where I stand right now.
And when are you going to be hearing about this?
Any minute. Every Thursday by 2 o'clock, they come out with the opinions. Now, see, this is not the only attorney litigation that's been going on. This is like the fourth case in a row we've had with people here making disparaging remarks, and of course they were true, to the public, or posting like Yelp and things like that. And these attorneys turning around trying to sue these people to force them to remove the reviews, or force them to retract, or to that effect. Of course, I'm not going to do that. I absolutely refuse, because it's the truth. The truth is the truth. And but all those cases went to the Supreme Court, and they came back and they were in favor of free speech. The most recent was a guy named Steve Sanson. Yeah. He runs a Veterans of Politics organization here. And he ended up getting $125,000 out of the attorneys that wrongfully sued him.
Really?
Yeah. So we have a few cases here.
Let me ask you a question. Steve Sanson, Veterans in Politics, are they still court watching or like they used to do? To a degree. Right now, it's election season, so he's busy doing that. Right.
But for a while, he was shaking up the family court, but then they closed all the hearings, and then the ACLU ended up suing Clark County in the state of Nevada. And now all the courtrooms, we can televise. We have something called Our Nevada Judges now, where they actually go in and videotape different court hearings. Plus, all our hearings are on videotapes now. You can order up a videotape after your hearing.
But you're telling me that there was a time where they had closed off all the hearings?
Yeah, nobody could go in. You just only the litigants, no public access whatsoever. They did that. That lasted for about a year and a half.
Really?
They did that in retaliation because Steve Sanson was down there, watching them, so they didn't like it.
Okay, fascinating.
But I used to do court watching, but I never made an issue, made a scene. I sat in the back real quiet, took notes,
It's it's good to go in there and see your judge, your new judge, or an attorney you're about to hire, something like that, and see how how they get along. Just to observe.
And now what they've done is they've tried to take all cases where parents were never married, just custody cases, and now those are all sealed. So now they're trying to deny public access to cases where the people are not married. So, I mean, it's just got to be a mess here.
So now, Ernest,
anyway, I wanted to give you a little history on this attorney that, that is trying to sue people for telling the truth about him. I mean, after this guy took over the Equal Rights Office, the first thing he does is he wants to work under the old business license because he doesn't want anyone to know that he bought the place, and he wants to work it off the books, under the table. His exact words. I mean, that's rather unethical for an attorney, not to mention it's illegal. All right, that's one thing. Then we've got 5 employees there. Never sets up a payroll. Nobody's paid payroll, no taxes, no workman's comp, absolutely nothing.
Well, and Ernest, let me ask you a question. Now, all these allegations you're making right now, these have already been filed in court in your motions, right?
Yes.
And so they're already public record.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you can access. I've got the case number here for you in case you want to, because everything on the Supreme Court you can review online now. And I'll give you that access here in just a minute. And the case number,
sure.
Actually, the case number is 86644, and that's the Court of Appeals, and that's the state of Nevada.
86644, Court of Appeals, Nevada.
And so that's enough. So we have and now no bookkeeping. Now, when you have 30, 40 people a day coming through an office, there's a lot of money exchange coming through there, isn't there? So there's no books. He's not keeping any records of any money coming in or going out. No expenses, nothing. The place doesn't exist. Then, rather than having an attorney there, like he said he was going to, he's got his stepson there who, I don't know, he went to college, I think, for 2 years or something, so now he thinks he's an attorney. He didn't go to law school, but anyway. So he's running the place. I think, in reality, what's happened is he just bought his stepson a business, document preparation business, and then the referrals go to him or to his cohorts, There's a couple other attorneys that get referrals out of there, and you can look at their reviews and see what the deal is with them, too. Oh, by the way, if you look at the Equal Rights for Divorce Fathers review, go to the lowest first, and then you'll see the truth of what's really going on there. So, I wouldn't even need to elaborate or go on to repeat any of those reviews. You can see that for yourself. But anyway, so... Well,
let me ask you a question then. It must break your heart because this was your baby. I mean, you were in there every single day, man.
I accomplished my goal, too. I started the supervised visitation. I've got the self-help forms. I left my mark on the community. So everything that I started got finished, got adopted by the system, and is currently in practice.
But Ernest, what about a guy like me? If I move away from Nevada... and I don't know that you're not running that place anymore, and I see EDRF, oh, my God, look at these reviews. What the hell's going on? What happened to Ernest? What's going on? I'm thinking, hey, maybe Ernest is out there doing stuff. What about your reputation?
Yeah, exactly. But if you read the reviews, you'll see that people say the old man is gone. It's only a fraction of the place it used to be, and, Ernest really cared. These people don't. All they want to do is make money. So, I mean, they pretty much destroyed the place. How do you go from 40 people a day down to 5? I mean, something's wrong. The public knows.
Yeah, that's true, man.
That I always worked about word of mouth. People sent people to me. It was word of mouth. I didn't advertise, and we didn't have the internet and doing all that, websites and all that stuff. And I was busy as could be helping these guys.
That's so true, too, man. That office was packed, and I heard about it because I was on a payphone one day screaming about my case, and a guy came over and handed me your card. That's how I heard about you. Okay.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's not like that now. And they basically turn it into, whenever you get a lawyer involved, somebody's going to be wanting to make money, and that's what they've done. They've just turned it into, hi, we prepare your documents for $300 to $500. For the same thing I used to do for $45 and $95. But anyway, then they refer you to the attorney who claims he owns the place, but I think basically that his son really does because the attorney's never there. And then and if they don't like your case, they farm it out to one of their fellow referrals. So, I mean, there's no hands-on, there's no one-on-one or anything with an attorney. It's basically they feel like, I guess, the attorney's too good to deal with you peasants until it's time for you to spend some money. So, I don't. So anyway, all these, you can read the website, by the way, that was in question, and it was like a review. I think these guys had written it like a review, saying this is what goes on there, this is what happens, etc. And I went through it. Of course, I had to read it 20 times during the case, and it's all very accurate. And it's nothing. There was nothing saying, nothing slanderous, nothing that was untrue. I mean, it was all there. So, but we have a jury nowadays where people don't understand free speech. They think if something is offensive, even if it's true, well, you shouldn't have said that, or, gee, that might hurt their feelings or hurt their business or something. And I'm not the one doing anything illegal. I'm not doing anything dishonest. They are. So, the court should recognize that. But this is why we have a court of appeals, and we're going to see where this goes. But the bottom line is, even if the Court of Appeals ruled against it, which I doubt they will, what's he got? He can't stop me now. Now everything's out everything's out there. Everything's public record. All I have to do is repeat what's already been said in court. And what's the great part is there's this organization here called Our Nevada Judges, where they actually videotaped my entire 5-day trial. So you can see the testimony. Basically, there's a testimony in there of Arturo Sorosa Lopez, who was an employee there while I was there, and then he was there after I left. And he told the exact story of what it was like when I was there, what it was like when they took over, basically that the paralegals or document preparers were actually giving legal advice and doing all the intakes with them, and they were getting paid in cash, and there was no payroll. And I mean, so in fact, I should post that again. But that just basically tells what was really going on there.
But we can go to on YouTube, Our Nevada Judges, and watch this whole trial?
Nevada Judges, yeah.
Okay.
And, I guess the truth doesn't work. You have people that really think that if you tell the truth and it offends somebody or it would damage them because of their own misconduct, that you're wrong. I don't think so. If somebody's, it's like if you're a criminal and somebody says something against you that you're a criminal, but it's already proven that you're a criminal, what is the issue? So all we have here is somebody that thought that they could bully me by filing the salvo of motions. And, he tried 4 or 5 different times for summary judgments, and they never got granted, He just used the system just to try to, cost me money and time. So I didn't spend a lot of time or money in the case because I already know what a flake Nevada courts are. So my thing was getting ready for an appeal, and you can read my appeal, and it was outstanding, by the way.
Now, Ernest, you started out advocating for fathers. Now, with Family Court Help on Las Vegas, do we also advocate for mothers too? It seems like it's quite a bit more fair today, right?
What I've done now is my advocacy day, I accomplished what I wanted to do. Now what I do basically is most states you have what's called a facilitator. You go to the self-help center, you get your self-help forms, then you go over to the facilitator's office, and they make sure you fill them out right. They make sure or they prepare them for you for a very small fee, like $20 or something. And that's basically what I'm doing now. The only advocacy that I'm doing now is the actual judges. I'm not so much moms or dads or kids or dogs or anybody. I'm really looking at the system because the laws are in place now. What we have to do is have judges that follow the law. If the law says there's a presumption of joint legal and physical custody, that's where you should start when you walk into court and affected by the burden of proof thereafter. Not go in and say, well, we're gonna start out with one parent here and one parent there and let them work their way up. No, start out as equals and affected by the burden of proof, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. Then we can see who's going to have primary, if there's going to be a primary, etc. But right now, so far, I've seen a lot of success with the presumption of shared custody. But now you have a couple of rogue judges, or what I call activist judges, that like to bring their own opinions to the bench and kind of skirt by the law because they can still get around a lot of things by saying, oh, the best interest of the child overrules the presumption of shared custody. So we have a couple of judges that still do that, but We have a mechanism for that called a peremptory challenge. You pay $450. You go back in the old Keno Bowl, and off you go. You get a new judge. So if you get a bad judge when in your first filing, each side gets a chance to change judges, but of course you would never go back to the original judge.
Let me ask you this, because you mentioned about the Family Court Self-Help Center, right? Now, back when I was involved in the Family Court back in Nevada, I found them to be biased against fathers.
Yes, absolutely. But what I've done is parents, mothers or fathers, tell them, look, go in there, get the form, you look at the form. If you can't fill it out, just leave it there. Come over and see me. I've got everything on the computer. While I'm sitting here talking to you, I can fill out your form. I mean, they're not that difficult, you know. The thing is that they sometimes at the self-help center, as much as I appreciate what they do there, they can give wrong advice, wrong form, etc. So that's why, and one of the things I'm pushing now for is to get a facilitator's office like we do in California and many other states, where there's a little more direction or information, you know, for pro se litigants. But of course, you're always going to have attorneys fighting against that because they want you to hire an attorney. They don't want you representing yourself. So when these programs come down the pipeline, you know, you have to worry about feedback from different attorneys in the community that are the family law specialists, you know.
Yeah, but also, too, the judges also are biased against pro se.
Yeah. I can tell you right now, out of the 21 judges, I got 4 judges down there right now. I wouldn't let people go in front of it if it was up to me. You know, because they're just so one-sided, whether they're moms, dads, or whatever. You know, they're just ridiculous stuff. And now we got one judge down there now telling everybody on the video on YouTube, you can watch her, that God's talking to her and telling her what to do and stuff. Okay, you know, all right.
Wait, she says that from the bench?
No, it's on videotape. Her name is Mari Palarde.
Yeah.
Palarde, first name Mari. Yeah, she's out, and you can see she's doing these Mother's Day functions, and she does these very theatrical speaking engagements. The most recent one was where she was telling everyone how, you know, God told her to do this and come to Las Vegas, and it was quite the video. I need to post that on my page. In fact, I did.
Now, how is it? Because, you know, some of these judges, they're a mess. You know, one of the judges I had, her own daughter was a methamphetamine addict. How do these judges get reelected over and over?
We just had Judge Harder. He just shot himself. I mean, he killed himself. So we have a sitting judge. We have other judges that are thrown off for ethics violations, like Fran Fine. We have people like Billy Potter that, you know, were thrown off the bench. Nick Del Vecchio. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Why don't you share with the audience that situation with the deposition there where the attorney shot the other attorney and the daughter, I think it was? Yeah.
What's funny is I know one of the attorneys involved, the shooter, it was Joe Houston. Yeah. Joe Houston's in his late 70s. Joe's been around for a long, long time. He was a very aggressive, you know, almost bully type attorney, but I mean an okay guy. You just had to know what his personality was. Well, he ended up with brain cancer or something that was coming back. But the judges were dragging this case out because we have all attorneys involved. Then we have the ex-wife who married a multimillionaire attorney here who's now dead, and trying to screw this guy out of his kids. So basically Joe went in there, and he says they were there for a deposition of Joe's wife, who was the grandmother of the children. And Joe went in and said, "Is there any chance we can settle this and make this work out for the kids or whatever?" And they wouldn't answer him. You know, her new husband, Prince, the attorney, Mr. Prince, just sat there smug. So, Joe pulled out the gun and blew everybody away, including himself. So, pretty interesting.
And so typical Las Vegas, you know.
They're pointing fingers though at the court, saying, this case should have never dragged out for 2 years. There should have been some immediate orders. There should have been so much that could have been done to prevent this, rather than let the attorneys just keep cranking the bills. Because when you have two very wealthy clients, the attorneys representing them are just going to keep billing and billing and billing, you know. and it's not cheap anymore.
Right. And
many
times these attorneys don't know each other, and they'll discuss this behind the client's back, saying, "Hey, there's a lot of money here. Let's keep this going."
Yeah, of course.
But the judges too. Are the judges getting kickbacks on that?
Well, you know what I mean. Let me tell you how judges reward attorneys.
Yeah.
Okay. How judges can reward attorneys, whether it's returning the favor for political contributions, etc., or any kind of political juice, is the judge has the right to award or not award attorney fees in cases, don't they?
That's right.
So think about it. You're sweet on this judge, and this judge is going to say, okay, well, attorney fees time, here you go. So with exorbitant amounts. Then the attorney turns around, files a lien on the people, and it's terrible when your own attorney ends up suing you and liening your house,
What a racket, man. Now, what about these custody evaluators, these experts, these therapists, these forensic accountants?
Expert witness or hired gun.
Yeah.
For $300 to $600 an hour, I bet you could get somebody to be your expert witness, So I don't like those people. What they're trying to do is, why doesn't the judge do their job? Why are they leaving it up to third parties that are not attorneys that shouldn't be dealing with legal issues? You're getting people. A lot of these people that especially go into social work of sorts and psychologists and all that. They've got baggage themselves. Most of them, they took those original classes to find out what was wrong with them.
It's so true. I got to tell you, one time I had to sit through a competency hearing for a criminal case, and I sat there all day long, and one after another, these poor defendants, man, it was out of their minds, and the judge was letting them talk and stuff like that. But every single one of them, the same evaluator, the same doctor who was evaluating their competency was the same freaking guy that was my custody evaluator in my case.
And what's even scarier is now with we had that big shakeup in the guardianship and probate court here, where they were doing bad deeds to old people and stealing their property and what have you. And once again, those evaluators were in there going, they couldn't balance their checkbook. They seemed confused. That's it. They're going in a home. Let's sell their house, and let me charge them $22,000 for doing this. Probate court's no different. What you have is all these people, the county's getting their you're in probate, and all of a sudden there's no family or anything, so attorneys go in there and bid on these properties on Fridays, and they're getting these houses for 10 cents on the dollar.
But you kind of glossed over, but we did a show here, and there's a documentary film out there called The Guardians that focuses on Las Vegas. Yeah.
It was basically, a lot of that was what was going on here in Las Vegas. Yeah.
So explain to the audience, so how does that whole scam work? Because that's a total racket.
Okay. Well, you only use this scam with old people that have money, okay? You got somebody that's in their 80s, and about somebody says, they're not capable, whether it's their family members or somebody in the medical field or whatever, and then somebody does a competency hearing on them, and then they bring an evaluator in, and this person evaluates them and then says, they're 80 and they don't seem to be able to balance their checkbook, and they do this and they don't clean their house well, and so we need to put them in a home. We'll put them in a guardianship, and we're going to sell their house and everything and put them in an assisted living. And meantime, everybody's pocketing money. The evaluator, the attorneys that are involved, real estate agents that are selling the property, investment companies that are buying it. I mean, it's just everybody. You've got to be 5 people with their hands out on each case.
Yeah, they'll come to your door and say, listen, we're going to take you in for an evaluation, or we're going to call the police and have you arrested if you don't cooperate with us.
Right, exactly.
But guess what?
And then they do a psychiatric hold on them.
Right.
Take them in there. They do a psychiatric hold, go in there and load them up with all kinds of medicines and so what have you. Medicate you, isolate you, take all your stuff, go away.
Yeah, right. So take the arrest, man. If they, at least if you get arrested, you got due process. You can go to court. They put you in that psych. And I've been to that psych ward, man. I've been in there. Guess what? I don't know as a patient. I had a client in it. But the thing is, when you were calling the phone number, The phone number was disconnected. You had to find out the secret number to get a hold of them in there in order to go visit my client in there. What a nightmare that was. And all they tell you when they're in there is, okay, when you get back to court, don't make any noises. Don't just respect the judge. If you don't understand, they just tell you enough to get through that court hearing.
You have all these snitches out there. It's like these people that are on delivery with Meals on Wheels.
Right.
Watch out for those clowns. Those guys are snitch. All these people these home health aides, all these things that, when they say, oh, we want you to come in for your annual evaluation. Elderly need to be careful of that stuff, what they're doing. I tell my elderly clients and stuff, I say, when you go to the doctor, you go for these evaluations, you take someone with you and you demand that they be in the room with you,
Yeah, the last thing you want to say is, hey, my kids don't call me anymore. I'm all alone. I have no one. That's the last thing you ever want to say to these doctors and these people. Yeah, because you're a bullseye right on you, man.
Look, as soon as you're you turn 80, you're a target, guaranteed.
Yeah.
And if you have any kind of disability or sickness prior to that, we have young people who are disabled that have been taken advantage of. What's that one case here that Steve Miller, our former councilman here, was championing, where the kid had, I don't know, I think he had cerebral palsy or something. But anyway, he had this multi-million-dollar estate. The kid's now penniless. But Jared Schaefer, the public administrator, all those people, they got millions out of this kid. Now he's penniless.
What about, there was a big scandal years ago with juvenile court, where, again, with the psychiatrist and the psychiatrist, the court ordered evaluation and therapy for these kids, and then it was the therapist who had to keep saying, well, they need more therapy, they need more therapy, they need more therapy, writing their own paychecks.
Right. Juvenile courts, if you ever see what they do, they keep you in the system at 6-month intervals.
Yeah.
6 months, then another 6 months, then another 6. So anytime you get a juvenile case, you're going to be caught up for at least 2 years. And then you got to go to all your classes. Now they have this new thing called the non-offending parent. Okay? So let's say I'm divorced or never married or whatever, but I've got a kid with somebody. She gets in trouble with CPS for abuse, neglect, drugs, whatever. Do you realize now they come after me and say, you're the non-offending parent, but you still have to take classes, you have to do this, you have to drug test, you have to... I'm going, what? So now somebody that's got absolutely nothing to do with the abuse, neglect, or anything is called the non-offending parent, and they're put through the same steps as the offending parent. That's just insane. That's absolutely insane.
Ernest, everyone who's ever dealt with family court and knows the system is broken. It doesn't. Right. How would you, if we put Ernest Del Casal in charges from a family court helpline in Las Vegas, what was the first thing you'd do to try and straighten all this crap out?
Well, a lot of this goes with, the fault is the attorneys that are presenting the cases and the judges that are hearing them. Let me tell you what I found out, since I'm doing just these self-help forms for people right now.
Yeah.
And no drafting. I just, type in whatever the questions and whatever the people tell me, I type it in and away we go. Do you know I'm finding out with the self-help forms when the judges think there's no attorneys involved and there's no money involved or anything here, these cases, I'm getting them in and out and gone in 90 days. How does that happen? But when we get lawyers involved, we're into 2 years of litigation.
It's the same thing too in criminal defense too. If you got a big expensive lawyer, man, that case goes on forever. But these other guys, they get arrested every weekend. it's recycling them.
We have a local case here, Belisario, who's an attorney or was an attorney. He got disbarred, I believe, and he's had a case going on for stalking or battery or something since 2021. He's on his 8th attorney and is like 15th stalling the case. I mean, how many years? The guy's going to be in a retirement home before he ever gets to court, But that's by his design. And judges and people are allowing it because he's a former attorney. So that's why these attorneys get away with all kinds of stuff. By the way, I went to the Bar Association about Kurt K. Harris, and I told them about all this stuff, and they said, oh, well, you're in litigation now, so we can't do anything. But we got we're going to save all this, and when the case is over, come and let us know. So finally I put all the evidence out there, everything in the trial. The trial is over. remember, this case took 5 years. I go back to the bar, and they say, oh, well, we only prosecute things for up to 4 years.
When
so
I
the
was...
state bar covered his ass. Judge covered his ass. The attorneys did. I mean, it was just a state bar.
Yeah, back in New York when I was 25 years old, we caught this attorney. He had fudged up an affidavit. He had added an extra paragraph. Okay, he took the page with the notarized signature, and he added some paragraphs and a page in between.
Sure.
You know.
We get orders that are altered all the time. We get orders where things are deleted, orders where things are added. If you're not, that's why whenever a client comes to me, I say, be sure and go get the video and get your minutes before we prepare the paper, because I want to make sure it's accurate. Yeah,
that happened to me once in family court too. And by the way, too, when I went in to bring it up, the opposing attorney had a brand new, fresh page printed out of all the stuff I was about to complain about, and so did the judge. They both already knew what I was going to complain about, and they were both ready for it. But back to that case, that disbarment case back in New York when I was 25 years old, we could have just, and by the way, the attorney I was working for at the time was worked for the Bar Association, okay? But he had to go around and politics, and get other attorneys to get on his team and whisper in the background and get all the a consensus against this guy who we caught red-handed, and plus we had him on audio tape. We talked to the witness. So
you think why do you think that the average citizen doesn't complain about attorneys, complain about the court system, whatever? This is what's happening to me is a perfect example. How many people could be able to handle a 5-year-long litigation in court and a 5-day trial and all that stuff to prove a point that they're right, So this is why people don't do it. I mean, attorneys, well, it's their system. They're going to sit there and abuse it and use it and to do whatever they want to you. So this is why you don't see enough change here when it comes to dishonest and unethical attorneys and dishonest and unethical judges. The average person is so busy making a living, trying to get by day to day and pay their outrageous rent here in Las Vegas, that they don't have time to get involved in any activism of any sorts. Or they're worried about people coming after them like this dishonest. And I'll tell you right now, it's my opinion. I had the dealings with him. I found him to be dishonest and unethical, period. And you want to sue me for that? Go ahead and file another suit. Because it's not going to change the fact that you're dishonest and you're unethical, period.
I find it interesting, too, that anybody would think, and if you've ever known Ernest Del Casal over the years, this isn't this guy's not a pushover, you know what I mean? He's not the kind of guy that you're going to intimidate with some paperwork. I don't know what you're thinking with that.
Even if you got a judgment. You think, I don't know what if you get a judgment, all these people go, I got a judgment against you. I go pay $850, get a bankruptcy, and the judgment's gone. Bye-bye. What?
And you mentioned, too, the rents in Las Vegas. A landlord-tenant court, the same thing in Las Vegas. Yeah.
Do you know my first house payment back in 1960s here was like $111 a month? Yeah. That same house today rents for $2,400.
Yeah, well, when I first I had a girlfriend in Las Vegas back in the 80s, our rent, 3-bedroom apartment with a fireplace and a pool, was $300.
Yeah. Well, my apartment in the 60s was only $65 a month, so that was a long time ago.
I know, man.
It's pretty bad here with the market. But until we get organizations where you have people. And I'm not really fond of people like Steve Sanson because he's out making money off these politicians himself. But until you get organizations where you have more than one person that can come, sound off about these judges.
Right, but the thing is, Ernest, once you're out of this, once your case is over, once you're out of the family court, you got your settlement with your custody, or once you're out, you're done with your landlord and you moved out of there, you don't want to think about that. That's even if Ernest, we scheduled this a couple of days ago. I'm going through all my trauma that I went through in Las Vegas, man. Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking back. Well, you forget. I remember days when dads used to see their kids on Saturday, every other Saturday, from 9 to 5. No overnight. That was unheard of.
It's amazing how they even came up with that to start with. And by the way, too, if you look at the statistics, a father absent from the home, everything, pregnancy goes up, petty crimes goes up, suicides, and they don't graduate high school, everything. But you're not allowed to bring statistics into family court.
What I like is where the new stepdad or stepmom gets more time with your kid than you do.
Yeah.
But now, like I said, we've got the presumption of shared custody, but a lot of these guys need to smarten up and quit doing crazy stuff. I mean, the big allegations now to prevent you from getting shared custody, of course, are domestic violence, and we've always had those false allegations of domestic violence. And they used to hand out those TPOs like they were, raffle tickets at one time. They're starting to crack down on that because now they're finding out that a lot of these people are litigating them and saying, no. If this is going to be a criminal case, let's take it downtown because I got guns, I got things, I got a license I got to worry about, so I'm not going to have this on my record. So now when people start fighting back, then they're all of a sudden going, we need to revamp. We're not going to get a TPO now unless there's absolutely an arrest or medical reports or something. But for a while there, all you had to do was just walk down, making allegations, boom, got a TPO.
Yeah, just wait on. I used to tell them, just wait online. All you got to do is wait online. Yeah.
So for months, but things are changing, but it's only because you have people like myself that have been through this situation, that know what's going on, that say, we need to make some changes, we need to do things. This is why I started the supervised visitation program. That's why I started the self-help forums. That's why, all these programs that I got involved in, lobbying, there's only a couple of ways you're going to change the law. One is the Supreme Court. The other is the state legislature. That's it. So either you got to be involved in one or the other. If you're going to be involved in the law and the legislature and that, then guess what? You need to be involved with the election process of these judges. It takes nothing to be a judge. You only have to be a lawyer for 10 years. You don't have to be a good lawyer. You don't have to be a mediocre lawyer. You can be a terrible lawyer. But the requirements are just you be an attorney for 10 years. Well, you could have been an attorney for 10 years doing uncontested joint petitions, and now you want to be a judge. What's dangerous now, and what I'm seeing, like with Pilardi and some of these others, they were system people. They worked for CPS, or they worked, in the system for years, so they're already poisoned by the time they get to the bench. They already got preconceived ideas of what they've been doing in the past that's affected their ability to be unbiased because they were in a position for 20 years being terribly biased. And you can't help but take your personal things to the bench, but not to a degree that it's blatant, And it's just like some of these judges that have certain religious backgrounds expect you to adhere to what they feel is okay in their house. Not everyone lives in the same lifestyle. There's plenty of lifestyles out there that you have to be aware of and be accepting of all of them,
Ernest, what about, because I remember, especially when I was going through mine, my thing went on for 13 years, until the day when my daughter turned 18 and we found out that the college fund was stolen. Okay. And they got away with it. But now the thing is, you must have seen a lot of fathers who gave up. When I would tell my story to people, I would hear over and over, oh, yeah, I gave up. And what about suicides? You must have had clients walk through your doors that wound up suicide.
Oh, are you kidding? That's why I ran the support end of it, too. We didn't just do paperwork. I was there every day. You come into my office, you could come in, you could have a beer, you could eat, you could sit there and carry on and, be angry and, and verbalize whatever you wanted to do, and that's, of course, what was really needed, and that's what gets people to go. I had one client that used to come in every Thursday, and I'm like, why are you here? And he goes, he just comes to visit every Thursday. That was his support system. That's where he got his batteries charged every week,
Yeah, but, if only, I tell you, people would come in, former clients, and bring Ernest lunch years after their case was over. This was a
lot of people. They come in. I always told them to say before 11, bring donuts. After 11, bring beer.
Yeah.
So and people would come. And I always had food out, where people could eat, every day. I had people that were basically, couch surfing or whatever until they could get through their case.
Yeah.
look, I designed it especially for that. We didn't allow women in the building. We used to have what we called them skirt alerts. We didn't allow women in the building because that's what the guys preferred it. That's what they wanted.
Yeah.
So of course, then later on, I'm criticized during this defamation case or whatever. I'm criticized for not allowing women in there. So they allow women in there, and guess who filed all the negative Yelp and Google reviews? Women.
Okay, we're talking to Ernest Del Casal from Family Court Helpline, Las Vegas. Ernest, we got 1 minute left. What do you want to leave us with?
But I want to leave it, don't give up, guys. Number one, don't give up women. Don't give up on the system. The system needs to be changed. It needs to be modified, and we need people to work on it, okay? If you're scared to do it by yourself, join an organization, join a large group of people, to where you can make some impact. And get involved in your local politics when it comes to your judiciary.
Ernest, I can't thank you enough. Family Court Helpline, LasVegas.com, 702-609-3688. I can testify myself that Ernest was with me for 13 years when I was fighting for custody of my daughter. She's turned out great, Ernest. Okay, all the trauma, all that crap we went through, man, she's turned out great. She's got a wonderful boyfriend who's a PhD. Okay, she's working in politics at a very prestigious job, meeting some very, very extremely powerful people. And maybe we'll come back to Las Vegas one day and clean up. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll look forward to seeing you when you do.
Thank you, my friend.
Keep me in mind. All right.
I will.
Talk to you later.
Good night.
Right.